Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. When the wise one announced his council tax freeze, he failed to see the consequences because he, like everyone else in the SNP, is a complete buffoon. Well, one of the council tax freeze consequences is that you are having people in very large, rich people in very large, expansive houses are being subsidised. They're not getting a council tax rise, and that's absolutely fine. They go, great. Oh, God, I was expecting to go up £30-40 a month. That's fine. Happy with that. And who's paying for it? Well, because the councils have said, or mostly, not all of them, have said they're going to kiss the arse and have a council tax freeze and then take whatever few crumbs Shirley Robertson throws their way, they've got to raise money elsewhere. And they've realised that there's a brilliant way of raising money. They're going to put up the rents on council homes by between 8 and 10%. Now, private landlords are limited to 3%. This apparently does not apply to councils, but perhaps it should. Because you've now got a position where the poorer in society who rent council homes are subsidising the mega rich who own these vast houses with, separate outbuildings and swimming pools and huge tracts of land. And they are paying extra in rent, more than what the council tax rise would have been, in order to make sure that the rich don't get a rise in council tax. Incredible, isn't it? Let's take a look. So councils set to hammer housing tenants with big rises amid a tax freeze. And when you think about it, it's actually worse than that, because not only are you getting people in council homes facing a £35 per month increase in rent, in order to subsidise the rent, the council tax fees for rich people. But that rise is actually higher than what the potential increase in council tax would be. And so while Shirley Robertson's sitting there going, oh, look at us, we're making your life easier, we're not increasing your council tax, blah, 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 and all the BS that comes out, the reality for council house tenants is they're probably, £20 a month worse off. Instead of a £10 a month rise in council tax, they've now got a £30 a month rise in rent. At least £30 in rent. Just to make sure that those rich people don't pay a penny more on their huge houses. It's almost as though they like targeting poor people. They're targeting, council tax rent here. Then in Glasgow and soon to be Edinburgh, Dundee and whatever, they'll be bringing in the emissions zone, which aren't emissions, but they're poor people tax zone. Because if you can't afford to upgrade your car, then you can't come in or you have to pay. And so it's adversely affecting poorer people. And this is the weird thing. The council, with not just the council tax and that, but it's everything. It seems to be all across the board. The SNP seem to have this dislike of poor people and want to punish them for being poor or something. Who knows? They're going to be putting this charge on supermarkets, which means supermarkets will raise their prices. But that's going to adversely affect the poor more than it will affect the rich. In terms of percentage of their income or percentage of what money they have, it's a much bigger percentage. And so it's everything that the SNP do is designed to harm poor people. And you've got to ask why. What do the SNP have against the lower earners of society? Surely you should be helping these people, not harming them. But, I don't understand their mentality. I don't understand why they do this. And, so you've got you've got the poor subsidising the rich. You've got the poor being punished more because they're going to be paying more net out if they're council tax council rent payers rather than not. And then they're also, and this is the thing that gets you, they're doing like an 8 to 10% increase in rents and limiting private landlords to 3%. Surely they should lead by example and show that they can't increase by more than 3% either. There's so much wrong with this. It doesn't even bear scrutiny at the first level, never mind in-depth looking. And yet there she is, looking around. Look at me being important, walking down a corridor with a clipboard. Look, see how important I am. Not a jot, not a single neuron is firing inside that head, is it? Anyway, I'm not the only one who's noticed this. A trade union has accused the government of prioritising well-off householders over council tenants. Scots council house tenants are footing the bill for steep rent rises at a time of huge pressure on family budgets. Increases of up to 8% have been pushed through, while the SNP government bankrolls a council tax freeze for the rich. Bada bing! Great job. Great job, SNP. You couldn't make it up. This is what happens. They have these bright ideas and they don't think them through. They don't realise the consequences because they're dim. And they don't realise what is going to have to happen. They seem to think that people just magically, create money out of nothing or something. Oh, the councils can save money, No, they can't save money. They're cut to the bone now. There is no spare capacity. And so they have to do something. Now, they're limited in so many ways of what they can do. But hey, they can stick rents up. We need to subsidise those rich. Those rich people need that council tax freeze much more than the poor do. Anyway, Aditi Jengahir, Secretary of the Living Rent Trade Union, says freezing council tax while letting councils increase rents clearly shows that council tenants are not a priority for the Scottish Government. It is shocking. The government is continuing to ignore the needs of tenants whilst the wealthiest households are able to enjoy a council tax freeze. The Scottish Government needs to enable councils to freeze rents and to ensure councils are able to properly fund public services. Humza Yousaf is under sustained pressure after his deputy Shona Robinson allocated 147 million for a council tax freeze. Now, to be absolutely funded, it would have been near at £1 billion. But they haven't got that money, have they? Because, all those glossy brochures need to be made. You've got to open up all those foreign embassies. As we've touched on earlier, spin doctoring ain't cheap. So, they're saying, well, screw housing. Yeah, we don't care. And it's just going to get worse. The housing problem in Scotland is, I'm going to say, when I say it's close to collapse, I don't mean, it's going to be really bad. I mean, literally, it's going to collapse. The entire economy is about to crash. And it will drag down house prices. It will lock people in because they're in negative equity. It's going to utterly, utterly destroy house building. Because then once all these companies that have got all their capital locked into the houses that they're building and they haven't sold yet, won't be able to sell them to make a profit because the house prices will drop massively in Scotland. And I'm not talking drop a couple of thousand here and there. 20%, 30% drop in value. And the reason this will happen is in 2028, all those I touched on this yesterday, all these landlords are going to go boom and drop all their properties onto the market in 2028. Less than 4 years away, and there's going to be a housing crash in Scotland, and it's going to be massive and brutal. Great news if you want to buy a house, because, they're going to be cheap as chips. But bad news if you are a house builder, because you're just not going to sell a new house and get a profit. You're going to make major loss on every house. Bad news if you're someone who, say, needs to downsize because you need to, the plan was build, grow, whatever, get old, downsize, take the capital out and live on the capital. That capital's just disappeared. It's going to be a brutal destruction of the Scottish housing market. See the video yesterday for details as to why. Anyway, anti-poverty, getting back to this, anti-poverty groups say the policy benefits people who live in the biggest homes and gives the poorest no financial benefit. And of course, the very poorest don't even pay council tax. So it's of zero value to them. So, it's why would they do it like this? If they truly wanted to help people, they'd stop taxing them on income tax. But they just so desperate to wank money away on all the things that people don't need. Anyway, figures obtained by The Record show the tax freeze stands in contrast to rent rises for council tenants. Edinburgh council tenants will see their bills rise by 7%, while for renters with Wheatley Homes Glasgow, the city's biggest social landlord, the figure is 7.5%. Now, they're going through and saying, what the different rents are left, right, centre. And, I'm not going to go through all those. The fact is that they're going up at that rate, where a private landlord would be limited to 3%. And it goes to show that perhaps you'd be better off in a private landlord situation than in a council one, because private landlords ain't putting them up that much yet. Ros Foyer, General Secretary of the STUC, said social housing tenants, including those who are likely exempt from council tax and don't benefit from the freeze, look set to have their rents hiked up as local authorities scramble to make ends meet. It's an abdication of responsible governance for the Scottish Government to continue down this road. It is madness. It is absolute bonkers to do this. It's, I'm not going to go through all of this because it goes on a lot, but, it is an absolutely terrible idea that can only come from someone who hasn't got the first clue of what they are doing, of economics, of human nature, of what council needs are. These councils can't live on the tiny little pittance thrown at them from Holyrood. They need $1 billion across the country, but they're not going to get it. And if you wanted to truly make people better off, rather than freezing council tax, cut income tax. Encourage spending. There are many different ways that do not impinge on people and that do not get the poorest in society subsidising the richest. And I'm not entirely sure that those 7.5% and 8% rent rises are even legal. Since they're now double the inflation rate, they may well be illegal. It would take a challenge, and I hope someone does. Anyway, I'm going to stop there because it's just appalling, though, and you get the idea. And actually, look, nothing going on. And she's got that smug look of someone who knows, look at me, look how important I am, just up her own bloody arse. But she's got so little to be smug about. Coming up. They go through their days, don't they? And they really don't know what they're doing. They come up with little ideas. This is the problem. This is a party of little ideas. And they're all individual and discreet and they're, all separated from each other. Nobody can sit above all this, look down and see a direction and say, right, this is what we want to do. And how are we going to do it? Well, we'll do this and we'll push here and we'll go there and push there and put there and there and so on. It's all as though little fiefdoms, isn't it? Look what I'm doing, look what I'm doing. Oh, yes. And nobody interacts, nobody talks, nobody thinks. We know that. They are incapable of any kind of forward planning or, perception of consequence. And then look at the damage that they're doing. Now, if you think, I don't know what, pick a number, £10 a month. Let's say £10 a month the council tax goes up. Maybe 20, no more. £10, £20 a month, whatever the council tax rises. That's 240 a year. Now, Glasgow, not only is it putting council rents up, it now wants to bring in parking charges for people at work. So workers, rather than being, say, 250 quid a year worse off because of council tax rise. Oh, look, the council tax rise has gone through. Yeah, but you're going to be £650 a year worse off because they're going to charge you for parking at work. That's a net £400 worse off. But hey, at least your council tax isn't going up this year. You couldn't make it up, could you? People of Scotland, even SNP voters, we know you're not bright, but even you must admit that the numbers are terrible. Yes, you're saving £10 or £15 a month on council tax, but they're going to charge you to park at work, and if you're a renter, you're paying a lot more. Is that really what you want? If you're living in a council house, you're paying more because you voted SNP. Vote them out. Save money. For heaven's sake, save Scotland. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'll finish there. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video, and I will speak to you later. Bye.